Is there an age when people just have to give up on having sex, around their 60s or perhaps in their 80s? It's a significant concern, and there's a considerable difference between the two. I'm all for pushing that point back as far as possible, and I'm not just talking about resorting to supplements or pharmaceutical treatments you might have seen advertised. Instead, I strongly recommend starting with running. Seriously, give it a go. Welcome back to our channel. Today, I want to discuss why, for those coming to my clinic with erectile dysfunction, running can be just as crucial, if not more important, than Viagra. I'll explain the reasons behind this and, by the end, provide some principles on how and how much you should run. So stick around. In my practice, whenever patients come in with erectile dysfunction, I always say one thing: try running. Running can be more critical than Viagra. Let's delve into this topic for a moment. Running over Viagra? That actually came from one of my patients shouting in the clinic. He came in monthly for his Viagra prescription and became somewhat irritated when I started asking about smoking habits, hypertension, or diabetes instead of immediately handing over the prescription. As soon as I began to talk about running, he yelled, "I asked for Viagra and you're talking about running." Of course, I provided the prescription right away and he never returned. However, whenever I encounter such responses, I'm still compelled to explain because, based on my experience, 1 out of 3 patients actually takes up running. So I recommend running first, especially to younger patients with sturdy knees who come in for erectile dysfunction. It can take about 6 months to feel the effects, so I do prescribe a small amount of medication for immediate relief. Telling a patient just to run without offering anything can lead to frustration. I give them the medicine but also emphasize running, adding that if they run regularly, they might not need to see me again for a long time. Here's the thing. As we age, a point comes when we might need some pharmaceutical assistance to maintain sexual function. If you start relying on medication immediately and its effectiveness diminishes over time, what do? You increase the dosage, which works for a while. If that stops working, you might turn to injections directly into the penis, increasing the dosage gradually as needed. If injections no longer work, surgery might be the only option. Surgery isn't simple. It's expensive and can lead to complications, including mechanical failures that require the entire implant to be replaced, costing upwards of $15,000. Thus, many consider injection therapy as their final option. So, the real question is whether the point of giving up on sexual activity comes in one's 60s or 80s. This is a critical issue. There's a big difference. I believe it's essential to push this point as far back as possible. That's why I emphasize the importance of running. These days, it's becoming increasingly common for young men in their late 20s and early 30s to seek medical help for erectile dysfunction. They come in asking for treatment, insisting on getting something to help. But when you start prescribing medication, you soon hear, 50 mg doesn't work for me anymore, please increase it to 100 mg. And what happens when 100 mg no longer works, especially since these individuals are still young? Then, would we consider injections? If necessary, yes, we might have to. This situation inevitably leads us to wonder what will happen when these young men reach their 50s. What if there's nothing more we can prescribe? Do we have to resort to surgery at such a young age? It's heartbreaking to even consider, as surgery should not be the go-to solution. My goal is always to delay such outcomes as much as possible, hence why I strongly advocate for running as a prelude to medication. Instead of relying solely on medication, I encourage incorporating efforts from everyday life to push back that timeline. I aim to highlight the additional health benefits that come with exercise beyond just improving erectile function. Yes, taking prescribed medication might quickly resolve the issue of erectile dysfunction, impressing newcomers with its effectiveness. However, this approach lacks the comprehensive benefits that something like running can offer. Relying on erectile dysfunction medication for improvements means missing out on numerous other benefits. You won't lose weight. Your heart won't get stronger. Sleep might not improve. Chronic diseases remain unaddressed, and it certainly doesn't heal mental health issues. Essentially, it offers nothing beyond a temporary fix to erectile function. The decline in erectile function should ideally trigger a sense of urgency about our overall health, prompting changes in lifestyle and exercise habits. However, this intention can be thwarted by the convenience of solving the problem with just a pill. Hence, even if someone comes in asking for Viagra and reacts negatively to the suggestion of running, I persist in this discussion. While my approach might not be everyone's cup of tea, I seriously reiterate these points to the next patient because this advice can potentially transform lives. For those who've made it through this discussion, you deserve to see a change in your life. If you notice signs of declining sexual function, feel a lack of vitality, experience anxiety or poor sleep, or suffer from digestive issues, consider trying running before turning to supplements or medications advertised online. I strongly recommend giving running a shot. Now, you might wonder how much running is necessary. Research suggests running 4 times a week is beneficial. Aim for about 40 minutes each session at a moderate to high intensity. This intensity allows for simple conversations. If you're too out of breath to chat, it's probably too intense. Running this way, you might cover around 5 feet, but the distance is less important than the effort. Consistency over 3 to 6 months can lead to significant improvements in your health and erectile function. The concept is straightforward, but implementation is challenging. It requires a significant commitment, yet those who follow through often experience undeniable benefits. Even if your vascular health is severely compromised, or if underlying conditions or age suggest a full recovery of sexual function might not be feasible, you'll still gain in terms of overall health. Choosing running for your health is a decision I hope you'll consider. Thank you for listening to this lengthy discussion. I'll return with more valuable information in the next episode. Thank you.